You are in tune to Community Radio, WRFG Atlanta. This program is Potential Vibes. I'm Sister Aphrodite, and our discussion tonight is African homosexuality, trick or treat. I want to thank Brother Bobby Hemmitt for that enlightening foundational information. Our next area to be discussed is the spiritual basis for such activity and a discussion of the proposition that, quote, homosexuality exists in the animal kingdom. And since man has been defined by some as a higher form of animal, it logically follows that homosexuality is natural in man and woman. For this portion of our discussion, we have our panelists, Shechem Sinteb Ma'ab and Shechem Sabang Mumatong, husband and wife, priest and priestess of the Aseroset Society in Atlanta. Hetapu. All right, let's get those volumes up. All right. Now, when you hear that man is an animal and therefore all activity associated with animal activity is natural for man, how does that play with the sacred teachings of our ancestors relative to the various divisions of the spirit and in the overall cultivation of man from control of the animal spirit to the higher division? In a nutshell.
Basic concept of Afrocentric, or the Afrocentric view, is that man is descended from God and not ascended from the animal. That concept is, from my studies, only comes from Europe and Europeans, that man is ascended from the animal. In a ancient tradition that's pictured in the tree of life, the various divisions of the spirit allow for a certain way of functioning that is associated with the animal, and it's called the animal part of the spirit. But it in a way implies that man is an animal. It's like, first of all, even understanding what the term animal means or was originally meant, was, as it's broken down in Latin, to animate, to move. Mm-hmm. It is a part of the being that is able to move about. And it wasn't originally confined to the creatures that walk around on four legs. It was part of the spirit that, that animates, that moves. Mm-hmm. And connected to that also is what we call the emotion, because that's part of the spirit that propels you or that moves you or motivates you. It's all part of that same thing. Mm-hmm. To that extent, there's a certain amount of association between what is identified today as an animal and that part of our spirit, because an animal cannot reason or does not attempt to reason, it just acts on its emotions. So when we allow that part of our spirit to dominate the way we live, then in that sense we can be associated with the animal. But the premise that we are the same as an animal is an incorrect premise. And the idea that I heard the statement that man is a higher form of animal, even if that premise was true, then there would still be no basis for imitating what the lower part of the being is doing. It doesn't make sense. Right? But I totally reject the concept that man is an animal. There are four distinct kingdoms in the creation. That is the mineral kingdom, vegetable kingdom, animal kingdom, and human kingdom. And the Afrocentric view is always held that.
Okay. So, lack of control of one's nature, for lack of a better word, where would that fall into the tree of life? That's right down in there, I would imagine.
The lower part. If you can recollect when you are very young, when you're first born, all you have available to you, all the faculty that is developed is the part of you that can react to your conditions, the part of you that that knows when it's hungry or knows when it's uncomfortable because, you know, you maybe peed on yourself or something. And you can react to this, and you can make noises, and you can make other people uncomfortable by screaming and hollering and so forth. Right? That is the same part that we see manifested later on when people grow up and don't know how to control that. It's the same lower part of the spirit that just simply reacts to the way it feels. But again, just like a baby, it is not reasoning. It's not, thinking in terms of reason, and certainly not aware of its higher self.
So in our African culture, even though we all started out at that point, was it just cool for you to just stay at that point? Was that the goal in life, to just get right in there and enjoy that and roll with it?
Of course not. In traditional African culture, and when I talk about traditional African culture, I'm talking about African societies prior to any foreign imposition or invasion. And in many African societies today, that type of culture still exists. And in those cultures, what we have is what a concept called the rites of passage, in which young men and women at a certain age, early teenage years, separated from the rest of society, and they go out with the elders of the community, and they are taught what it means and how to become an adult. Okay? And so what you have in traditional African culture is, from day one, a system that has within it built-in means of training people how to be adults when they're adults. You know what I'm saying? So that you no longer act as a child, as Shekins and Tam I have spoke about earlier, but function as an adult, and so that your emotions now are not ruling anymore. When you're a child, that's all you have going for you. When you're a baby, if you're hungry, you scream and holler, right, till you get somebody's attention. But once you get to be an adult, in traditional African culture, you have other means by which you address various and sundry things that you come into contact with in society. That is not true in European and Western culture. You are basically left to your own devices, and there's no training anywhere in society that teaches you how to be an adult, how to raise a family, how to raise your children, how to function in a relationship, etc.
Or what you may need to do to overcome various urges. I mean, people have all kind of urges.
Exactly.
From eating too much chocolate to
right.
To murder.
To murder. Yeah.
We're going to elevate urges, and we have to look at all of those urges.
Hey.
But the bottom line is that traditional African culture and many other cultures distinctly made it clear that after a certain point in life, you do not simply answer urge. I mean, the premise is that you are descended from God. Therefore, your whole life's work is how to act, how to function as God on earth, how to be God-like. So you're taught from an early age, as Sheikh Sabah Mumatan said, it was built into the society. And one of the reasons for the rites of passage, and one of the consequences, if you didn't pass your rites of passage, you could not be a responsible member of that society. And the reason there was that you had to exemplify for the younger people coming behind you how to act. Right? So it was always there, held in front of you, the correct way to act. This is one of the biggest problems with modern society, particularly in America. We've totally lost control of our children, because they have no respect for their parents. They have no respect for older people. They can't even look to politicians, police people, priests, or anybody else. All they find every day in the papers and in the media is that these people are corrupt themselves.
True.
But traditional African society was a part of society. You were told day one that you just don't simply act any old kind of way. That there's a way to act that's in the best interest of everyone.
You want to finish your thought?
Well, thank you. I like to deal with this question of the whole question of sex from an understanding of the role of sex. Two basic roles of sex. One is procreation, of course, to reproduce our kind. And the other that is a mechanism for us, again, to experience higher levels of spiritual awareness, aesthetic trance, what our ancestors practiced through ritual and so forth. It was never a recreation, in traditional African culture.
You just didn't get the feeling and get busy.
No, that was not a part of it. It was a holy act.
I just check it.
And again, as I said, it is a mechanism to get into. But it is it's also based on an understanding of the role of men and women. See, this is a totality to living. It's not just you just happen to be here. It's the totality to living, and there's a fundamental energy that underlies everything, and it is dual in character. And from this duality, you find the two basic types in every species or everything that exists, and it holds true for men and women also. There's a reason why a man is a man and a woman is a woman, the way their bodies are shaped and the energies that flow from them and so forth, and what they do when they come together, they complement the spirit and they rise from it.
Well, that's beautiful, Shepherd. I like that. All right. Brothers be telling sisters now they want me to go rise the spiritual.
They do it.
Yes, they can do it. All right. Did you have anything else you wanted to add to that, Shepherd?
While we were waiting, someone called, I'm told, and wanted to know if we had done an oracle reading on this subject, and wanted us to speak to that on the air. And my response to that is that it's not an oracle question. There are certain things that are just divine law. Okay, and males and females together is divine law. When you put an electrical plug into an electrical outlet, you get electricity.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
If you put an electrical plug to an electrical plug, you get nothing. You know what I'm saying? So it's not an oracle question. That's not something that you do a reading about. Because when you understand divine law, it's not
really
something
question
to
is rhetorical, really.
Right.
Well,
I hope the person is listening.
Oh, I'm sure they are. I'm sure that we probably larger than Monday Night Football tonight. I give thanks for y'all coming down and adding this expert spiritual advice. I consider y'all experts because I know. And I really thank you for coming down and doing this. I think it's going to be useful to somebody. Somebody heard what you said and needed to hear it.
If I might get plugged for that.
Okay. Y'all one of my underwriters.
Part of our responsibility is to try to share as much as we can with our people. And we do give classes in spiritual culture.
Yes, sir.
So if anybody who's interested in further understanding the ways of our ancestors as we understand it, quite welcome to come to Kuji Chakalia Natural Foods, 551 Ashby Street in the West End. There'll be a series of meditation workshops beginning next month.
Okay.
And they can call at 758
5470.
5470 to get a listing of the schedule of classes, right? That go on all the time.
Right.
So that
I'm a student, I know. He was my teacher.
One of those other students.
Good thanks. All right, well, we give thanks. Of course, as he said, Kuji Chakalia is located at 551 Ashby Street. That's right across from where the old Sears used to be. And they're open almost all the time. I don't know when they go home, but they're usually there. So you can go back and pick up a list. You actually have a list of those classes
Exactly.
and stuff. I know you have them in your 6th anniversary booklet, which I must commend you. It was beautiful.
Thank you.
I enjoyed it. I got my name and everything.
That's
So I was really, really happy.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Fruit, thank you for coming. Yes, sir. In a moment, we'll return with Queen Mama Sharon Nyako, Queen Mother of Ghana, of the Ashanti Nation, Ghana, West Africa, as a psychotherapist. Hold tight. West Africa. Greetings, Queen Mother, and welcome.
Greetings, welcome. On behalf of our king, the Asante Hene, and on behalf of the entire royal family of the Ashanti Nation of Ghana, West Africa, I would like to thank you for this opportunity that you have given us so graciously to come and set the record straight.
Yes, sir. We've invited you here this evening in your capacity, Nana, as Queen Mother, psychoanalyst, and warrior queen, to respond to the implication that the Queen Mothers of Africa were in some manner tied in with the so-called Amazons. And in the interest of clarity, I'm not going to be able to give all of the research that I've done on the Amazons, but I do want to give a little bit just for clarity for people who may not know what an Amazon actually is. Our research tells us that Amazon is a Greek word indicating removal of a breast, derived from the mythology that the women called Amazons cut off their right breast so that they could use their swords and javelins more effectively. In Greek mythology, an Amazon refers to a female warrior of a race supposed to have lived in Scythia, near the Black Sea. It also refers to virago, a Middle English and Anglo-Saxon word from the Latin dialect. Its root, vir, means a man. Virago is further defined as a bold, quarrelsome, shrewish woman, a strong, large, man-like woman, an Amazon. We could go on and on about what the Amazons were and who they were, but one of the things that I wanted to talk about specifically was that Barbara Walker in her book says that there used to be several island women called Amazons where women live without men, only consorting with neighboring colonies of males at certain seasons when they wanted to conceive their children. Taurus, Lemnos, and Lesbos were all said to be such female societies. And the Greeks apparently feared them, she said, because they said that the women of Taurus sacrificed to the goddess all men who landed on their shores. And the women of Lemnos had risen up against their husbands and murdered them all at once. They go on to talk about the mythical magic cries of these women and how one of them, called the Valkyrie Kara, the mythical Amazon of Northern Europe, is said to have deprived her enemies of power. To have deprived her enemies of power to wield their weapons by the power of her voice. So, Nana, the question is, how is our story of Queen Motherhood related to the warrior queens of the so-called Amazons, and were our warrior queens the same as those people?
The short answer is no.
Okay.
So let's attempt now at this juncture to put a little bit of meat on those bones. The Dahomey warrior queens were radically different from the Amazons. Many people confuse the two. Okay, their army was formulated and led by men. They certainly were not Aryan lesbians. Okay. In terms of the Ashanti Queen Mothers, we are called warrior queens for good reason. John Henry Clark said that history is a clock that people use to tell their time of day. It is a compass they use to find themselves on the map of human geography. It tells them where they are and what they are.
Yes, sir. And who they are.
Yes. History teaches us that warrior queen mothers have to possess well-integrated masculine and feminine energy. I'll begin with myself and go all the way back to Queen Candace of Ethiopia, because the Ashanti are descendants of Ethiopians. As a queen mother of a matrilineal society, one of my responsibilities is to be a kingmaker. The queen mother is not the king's wife. She is usually his mother or sister. Upon the king's death or bestowment, I nominate the next king. If none is found suitable, then I can hold that office until an heir is found. That is to say, I can be both king and queen mother at the same time. And it also means that I can be the commander-in-chief of the army.
Yes, sir.
If we go back 100 years, we see that this is the situation Queen Mother Ya Asantewaa found herself in. The Ya Asantewaa War was named for her. Unlike the Queen of England, who gave her troops a pep talk and sent them off to war, Ya Asantewaa took up arms and led her army into battle. In addition, other Ashanti women took up arms and fought alongside the men. If we go back 2,000 years, we see Queen Candace of Ethiopia. When Alexander the Great was on his world-conquering rampage, just the thought of going up against Queen Candace made him turn tail and run. He had just defeated Egypt, but he still knew that it was better not to risk suffering defeat at the hands of that woman. According to J.A. Rogers, this all took place in 332 B.C. The bottom line is that as warrior queens, we must have well-integrated masculine and feminine energies, and we are decidedly heterosexual. That's why we are called queen mothers. We marry, we have children, and we produce kings.
I wish I could see the look on her face. All I can say, well, yes, ma'am. Yes, Queen Mother. Well, that was kind of succinct, Queen Mother. I've got about 5 more minutes.
Okay, I'll talk about it. As a licensed psychotherapist with an African worldview, I reject the term homophobia. It does not apply to us. A phobia is an irrational fear.
Wow.
Is it irrational to disagree with a lifestyle which threatens to extinguish your people?
Well,
That is to say, is it irrational to fear a lifestyle